Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll be teaching you how to set up Laravel and implement Sanctum authentication to secure your APIs. Let's dive in and get started. So this is Laravel documentation. I'll post the link in my video description. So you can see these are the composer dependencies and they have told how to set up the database and everything. So let us jump to creating the project. Let us create a new folder named as setup Laravel or Laravel REST. Let us rename it to this. Okay, I did open it. Okay, so now I have to run composer create hyphen project space Laravel slash Laravel and dot so that it consider the same directory in which I have opened the VS Code. So as you can see, everything came composer, package, app, bootstrap, config, database, public, everything. All as you can see that they did run the migration in my SQLite. So it is a basic, a file database.sqlite. In that they have created everything. But instead of that, we are going to use MySQL. So I'll update the configurations here in .env. You can see these are the other properties which you can set, but right now the main properties are the database one. Also, the env file is used to store the credentials and everything. And let us start setting up the database. Okay, I'll uncomment this. I'll name database rest and password, and I'm running the either you can, I'm running from the command, I mean from the terminal, my SQL, I'm trying to log in into that one. You can open a workbench, or if you have PHP admin, you can create the database from that. I have created the database test. Okay, it is created. All right. Okay, done. Now I have ran the migrations. It is done by PHP artisan migrate. Okay, let us check the database if everything came or not. Okay, it did came. Now let us install the API. So you have to run PHP artisan install API. Once it is done, it will run few more migrations. So, okay, it did run, and you can see api.php file is made. Now let us open bootstrap app.php. Okay, so inside that you have to call this method from $middleware instance, that is stateful API, and then run this command php artisan config publish course, so to publish the course. And here you can allow origins, or if you want some specific host only to access the APIs, you can do that. And apart from that, you keep everything the same as they are right now. Let us open auth.php in config. Here I'm going to set API in the guards key, so it will have the driver that is Sanctum, as we are going to use Laravel Sanctum. So, and provider would be users, and hash would be false. Okay, so you can pause here and just type these properties inside your file. And now uh, let us move forward to user model. In user model, you have to use hash API tokens as a trait. So copy that as API token, and that is automatically included. Now let us open the Postman so that we can test our APIs and everything if they are working or not. I'll create a new collection here. Let us rename it to uh, Laravel REST. Okay. Now I'm opening the Postman agent because I'm opening this API in my browser, so it needs Postman agent to access the localhost. I'm setting the variables and authorization, uh, and now let us go for user. It is okay. It gave 500 internal server error because I have not included, sorry, this route, but I have to include this header named as application/json. Now it is giving the proper response, that is message unauthenticated. Let us start creating some other classes now. Let us close this terminal, open the new terminal, and assign a controller, auth controller, in which I'll place all the functions, login, register, logout, profile, those functions. This is created. Okay, I'll write the definitions of those functions: public function, login, public function register. Before proceeding to these functions, let us create a few more classes. So I'll run few artisan commands. You can pause the video here and type the same command. So PHP artisan make class, sorry, a request, user request. Okay, this one is done. Now let us create the other class, that is PHP artisan make class. This class would be the service class. It will come under services folder. You can write the name of your folder, anything you want. So you can see user service class is created. Uh, User request class is created. And now let us create a resource class. So for that, I would be running PHP artisan make resource user resource. I think I have spelled that wrong. Yeah, now it is correct. So user resource class is created. So I have created these three classes: user request to handle the request, user services to handle the model function, and user resource to handle the data which is being sent in the API. So that is the basic of these three classes. And now let us proceed further. I'll start utilizing now user request class, which is basically to interact with the request we are receiving. So I'll set the authorize to true, and I'll set some rules for registration, that these rules must be passed before passing the request to the controller function or to the service function or to access the model. So I need three parameters: name, email, and password. And email would be unique email. For that time, I'll write this rule: unique. Users is the name of that table. So it will look for email in that table and check if this one is unique or not. And password has to be minimum 8, and it should match password underscore confirmation. Let me fix this. Okay, it is done now. Our user request is created. I think it is better to rename it to create user request. This name look more relevant to what we are creating. I'll rename this also. So now let us include that in my controller, that is auth controller. And here in the register, I'll be including this create user request, dollar request. And that is done. Now, before, as I have not written anything, so but I'll create one route. I'll tell you that now, before proceeding inside the function, it will first check those rules. If they are passed, after that only it will access the function, else it will give you the error that these are the validation error which you need to fix. So let us create a route and register. That's it. Okay. This one is not required. I'll write it like this. That is done now. Okay, let us double check everything is good. Now let us run this register command. Okay, okay, post. So rename it to register. You can do that afterward also, but I just saw that. That's right. So you can see the validation error came, uh, and now we can proceed for creating the register functionality. Before proceeding further, I'll tell you why I have created service class. So service class is basically created so that all the model functions can be handled in that instead of handling everything in controller. You can do that in controller also, but it keeps your code a bit, more precise and little optimistic. So note here in user service, I'm creating the function to create the user. So let us create the function named as register. Okay, or register user. Okay, so now here I'll tell you uh, two concepts basically. So one would be the transactions and other would be try and catch. So try and catch I have used if there is any exception. In that case, what you have to do. So always keep your code inside the try and catch and always do proper error handling. And now the second one is transactions. So what transactions are? So basically when you run any database function in that case, before running that, we begin the transaction. So that in case if there is any error in between, then whole transaction could be reversed rather than committing the data with some error or something like that. So for that, we have to use these functions. So begin transaction to begin commit. Once everything is done, then commit and roll back if there is any error or anything like that. So in case of error, I'll log the errors so that in future, when you see your log file in that, you can find why exactly the script broken down. So I'll include these classes, illuminate support packets. Okay, they are included. Now let us start creating the function. So I'll create the user. So user model, create. Inside that, I'll pass an array. In the left side, you'll write the name of the columns, and on the right side, the values, their values. So these were the name of the columns, name, email, password. So you are getting everything from request. All right. Okay, I have to include the request as well in this function. So I'm using create user request. Okay, so here also you can either use that instance or you can just pass dollar request because you would be passing already validated data into this function. So dollar request name, likewise email and password. And for password, correct. So this one is created. Now let us send the token back to the user once we are done with creating the user. So we'll be creating using create token function in which auth token would be passed and we'll get plain text token. So that basically contains that peer error token which we need for all the APIs to run. So now let us return that. Now let us return the response. Here I'll be using the user resource, the one which I have created. So user resource, they what they do that you pass the object to them. They modify the object on the basis of your requirement and send the same response which is required on the front end. So for example, there are 7 columns in the user table, and if you want only 2 column out of them, then you can exclude them, or you can only include only the required columns. So that is why user resource is created, just to send the required information instead of sending the object with all the data. So I have created the array and sending that in the response like that. User access token, token type, that would be bearer, and db commit will come before return uh, because after return the code will not be working. So yeah, so once the user is created successfully, it commits the transaction and then return the response. Now let us come back to the auth controller. I'll create one protected variable here named as user service and we'll create the constructor. Inside that I'll create the object of user service and we'll store that into the protected variable. Now I'll use this variable, I mean this object, uh, and we'll call the register user with dollar request as input parameter, and that's it. Now it is done on the controller end. Let us check on the postman. Name, email, and password underscore confirmation. These are the parameters which are required. Test123@gmail.com. Password abc123 and password underscore confirmation abc1234. Send. You can see the user is created successfully and we are receiving the access token as well, the token type too. Right now, all the user inside the user, everything is coming. So you can exclude or include only those columns which you want in user resource. And let us check the user API, the one which was by default created when you install, Laravel install API module. So let us test that one. So API slash user, this was the one. It is get API in accept. I have to pass application slash JSON. Bearer token will pass the token which I have received, and you can see the data came properly in my user API. Let us start creating a route in API.php. Let us name it as login. Copy the same controller as I'm creating the function on the same controller. Login is the function of my name. And now let us start making login. So here also I need to uh, call the service function because I'll be creating all the model function inside the services only. And apart from that, I have to create a login request. As I have mentioned in my previous tutorial regarding request and their usage. So similarly, I'll create a login request. This is done. Change it to true. Let us write some rules for email and for password. So should be required string and email. So it should be required string. I think that is enough. And we call it here request. So as I mentioned earlier that I'll be creating all the model functions inside the service only. So I'll call the service here and use this service with the same thing. And let us name it to login or login user. It's done. Let us start creating login user. Constructor is not required right now, so I'll remove that. Function login user. And let us start creating the function. User will add a liquid query to basically find the user on the basis of that email. Okay, and see, there are two ways. Either you hash your request password, so the password which you are sending in the input, and fetch the data on the basis of that. Or the other one is that you pull the data on the basis of email, then use the predefined function of hash check. Okay, and hash double quotes check. Please do not forget to include those classes. Normally, it comes when you in Mac. It is by command and space after the last character. If you type this. I mean, press these keys, command plus space. It will show you the relevant classes. Okay, so I'm typing the check. It will accept two parameters. One is the normal string password, and the other would be the uh, encrypted password, which is coming from the request. Invalid credentials if it is not found. Standing version of one status code dollar token. So it would be same. Dollar user create token inside that I'll pass auth token as a parameter and plain text token, the same thing. Hmm. Let us do it. It's done. I'm sending the same response. User resource access type, everything is fine. Login request is correct. Auth controller, it is correct. Okay. Now let us test it on Postman. So I'll create a new route here. So you'll click on these three dots, add a new request, type login, and select the same path. Login. The headers would be accept application JSON. Uh, yeah, application JSON authorization is not required. Get I have to change that to post. And email field is required. Okay, that is done. Now let us, our validations are working. Now let's type email and password. Still on the treatment. Okay, now it worked. As you can see, code the access token. If I pass this access token, you see I'm getting the proper response and everything. Okay. Now let us go to create the logout functionality. So for logout, you basically have to destroy that token, and then on the basis of that, as the token is destroyed, so all the other token functionality will stop working. Let us do that. Uh, I'll follow the same format. I will be creating a logout function inside my, uh, what do you say, in services. Okay. Dollar request. Okay. For this, I'll be using request only because no validation, nothing like that is required in logout. So, user service, I'll be creating a function named as logout. And here, I'll be destroying the token. Let me pass the dollar request parameter in the function and dollar request user token delete. Because again, okay, that is done. Semicolon return response, and in response, I'll return that you are logged out successfully or log out successfully, successfully logged out. Okay, here this thing is done. User service create. Let me close these tabs. Right. Now let us close the logout functionality. But before that, we have to set the route. Logout. Everything is same apart from the function name and path. It's done. And one thing you have to consider, because as logout functionality will only work once you are logged in. So you have to put the middleware auth Sanctum to check whether if it is logged in or not. The other thing I'll be telling you, instead of putting the middleware in every route, you can group them. And on the basis of group, you can place all the routes inside that. So this is how you can create the group. So middleware auth Sanctum group. That call the function. Curly braces. That's it. Now I'll be calling these two inside it. These things are not required now. Semicolon and semicolon. Log. No, it's done. Let us create a new request. Log out. Base URL. It would be post base URL. Log out. Headers already token is there. So send call to member function tokens and let me check why it is doing this. Tokens. The request user. Oh, I forgot to add the brackets. Now let us. Okay. Do it again. Successfully logged out. See, now you cannot work. You're getting the message unauthorized. I'll log in again. We'll paste the new token. Now you are able to access. So this is how you create login, logout, register functionality. Now let us. I'll guide you about user resource. So if you want only specific parameters, to be sent on the API instead of ID, name, created, and updated, I don't think that they are required unless you want them. In this case, they are not required. So what I will be doing. So first of all, let me create this profile function inside my controller. So yeah, I'll create this. Meanwhile, I'll explain. So if you want specific parameters only in the user resource, so you can only, include them in the user resource as I'll be doing in this tutorial. So by that you can, restrict the APIs to only get a few parameters which are required instead of getting everything which is in the table while creating. Following the same format for creating the profile controller, then service, and there's a return dollar request user new space. Also, you have to use user resource everywhere so that if there is any change in the user resource, it will be reflected throughout your code instead of doing it in every function in every way. So it is good practice when you are working on the large projects. I'll pass the request. Just yeah. See, I changed that in my user resource. You can see name and email. So that's why they are only name and email is working over here. If you want to add any more parameters or exclude or include, you can do that. So we are done with register, login. See, in login also it changed because I have changed it in user resource. Similarly, it would be changed in register and profile. Okay. This is how you should structure your app when you're creating I mean, when you're creating large products or projects, something like that. I hope you enjoyed my video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content.